In this video, I will show you exactly 5 types of canned food that I always keep at home. Not excessive, not wasteful, but enough to get you through difficult times. 90% of people are storing food the wrong way. Are you one of them? I will be honest. I used to be one of them. I used to buy a lot. I thought that was enough to be prepared. But when I actually needed it, I opened it and realized it was missing the one thing I needed most. At that moment, I understood something simple. Preparation is not about having more. It is about choosing the right things. Since then, I have kept exactly these 5 types at home. Nothing complicated, but enough to keep me from being caught off guard when things get harder. Watch until the end, because there is one thing many people overlook, but once you do not have it, you will clearly feel that things are no longer stable like before. Let's start now. 5. Canned tomatoes. The soul of your food reserve and a measure of supply chain stability. Canned tomatoes are what help you turn the cheapest, driest ingredients into a meal you can keep eating for days without getting tired of it. With just 1 can of tomatoes, you can make white rice, beans, or canned meat much easier to eat. Not restaurant-level good, but enough so you do not have to force every bite down. And in a prolonged situation, when you have to eat the same thing every day, it is no longer about taste. It is about whether you can keep going or not. Many people prepare food in a very logical way. They think as long as there are enough calories and protein, it is enough. But reality is simpler and harsher. You do not give up because you run out of food first. You give up because you no longer want to eat. When meals become bland and repetitive, your body is still there, but your mindset starts to drop quickly. And that is when something like tomatoes, something you once thought was secondary, becomes what keeps the whole system from collapsing. But what is interesting is that the value of tomatoes is not just in the kitchen, but in how the market operates. This is one of the most sensitive foods to supply chain fluctuations. A change in weather in California, a cold wave in Florida, or rising fertilizer costs due to global conditions. And tomato prices start to increase, quality declines, and your options shrink. It does not disappear overnight, but you end up paying more for less. In recent years, fresh tomato prices have increased quietly like this. Not a sudden spike, but a little each season. By the time you notice, the old price is gone. And that is when the cans of tomatoes you bought earlier start to matter. You are not just storing food, you are preserving a part of past costs. Nutritionally, many people think canned food is worse. But for tomatoes, that is not entirely true. The canning process helps release lycopene, an important antioxidant, in a form that is easier for your body to absorb. This becomes especially useful during periods when you have limited access to fresh food or healthcare conditions are restricted. However, buying correctly but storing it wrong means losing all the advantage. Tomatoes are highly acidic, and if stored in hot places like a garage or areas with fluctuating temperatures, the inner lining of the can will degrade over time. You will not notice immediately, but the quality inside is slowly declining. A can that is not swollen does not mean it is still as good as it was at the beginning. The principle is simple. Store in a cool, dark, and stable place around 10 to 21 degrees Celsius. No need to overcomplicate it, just avoid places with fluctuating heat. Do this correctly, and you can safely maintain quality for 2 to 3 years. For preparation, do not just buy one type. Crushed tomatoes help you cook quickly when you need to save fuel. Whole tomatoes give you more flexibility in cooking. Tomato paste saves space and boosts flavor when needed. When you have different forms, you do not just have food, you have ways to use it flexibly. One small detail many people overlook: the liquid in the can. Do not pour it away. Under normal conditions, it may not matter. But when water supply is no longer stable, it can become a valuable liquid source you should not waste. The value of all this only becomes clear when things are no longer normal. During snowstorms, many families technically had enough food, but still struggled after a few days because they could not eat overly repetitive meals. And the remaining cans of tomatoes helped them turn available ingredients into something more tolerable, keeping the whole family from mental exhaustion. In the end, you do not need many complicated things. You need things that help you use what you already have, over a long period, without collapsing from fatigue and boredom. And canned tomatoes are one of those things. If tomatoes are what keep your meals eatable, the next is something that keeps your body tolerable. The cheapest source of protein that is also the most underestimated on the shelf. 4. Canned beans. The king of low-cost protein and the silent crisis on store shelves. Canned beans are what help you maintain stable energy for hours without crashing too quickly. And more importantly, they keep you mentally clear enough not to lose control when things start getting stressful. Unlike processed foods that make you feel full fast and then hungry again just as quickly, beans release energy slowly. That means you are not just eating to feel full, but to stay stable, both physically and mentally. On a normal day, you may not notice this, but when you face prolonged pressure, shortages, or uncertain situations, that stability is what keeps you from being carried away by your emotions. It sounds simple, but this is something many people only realize when it is too late. During the Texas winter storm in 2021, when the power went out, freezers stopped working, and fresh food spoiled within days. One family got through that period with just a few cans of beans. Not because they liked beans, but because it was the only thing left. Durable, easy to use, and enough to keep them going when everything else was gone. And that is the real value of beans. Not taste, not appeal, but reliability. But if you only see beans as a cheap source of protein, you are missing half the story. Beans are one of the very few foods that are cheap, durable, and can be stored in large quantities without relying on electricity. In a system where most protein sources require refrigeration or freezing, this is not convenience. It is a strategic advantage. When you look at the market, you will notice a very clear trend that few people talk about directly. Food prices do not rise the way you think. They do not spike suddenly for you to react in time. They rise slowly, quietly. Fertilizer costs go up. Weather becomes unstable. Transportation costs climb. Each factor only pushes prices up a little. But over time, you start to see that things that used to be cheap are no longer cheap. And beans are no different. You still see them on the shelf. But the cheapest options disappear first. Low-cost brands stop being restocked. You are forced to choose more expensive ones. And gradually, you no longer feel like this is cheap food anymore. A crisis does not take your food away immediately. It takes your choices first. And that is when you understand. Buying beans today is not panic stocking. It is a way to lock in future costs. You are buying next year's protein at today's price. But there is a very common mistake: buying it and leaving it untouched. It sounds logical, but in reality, it reduces the value of your entire system. Canned beans can last 3 to 5 years, even longer if the can remains intact. But a good storage system is not a pile of food sitting still. It is a flow. You use the older cans first and replace them with new ones. You eat them in your daily life, not wait until something happens to open them. By doing that, you are not just preserving quality, you are preserving familiarity. And in a difficult situation, familiarity is what helps you stabilize faster than anything else. One small but valuable detail: rinse the beans before using them. The liquid in the can often contains a high amount of salt. Eating it once is not a problem, but if you have to eat it continuously for many days, that salt can build up and affect your body more than you think. Beans are also not something you should eat alone for too long. A can of beans may help you survive, but not necessarily help you keep eating. Combined with tomatoes, you get flavor. Add canned chicken, you get enough protein. Add seasoning, and you can extend your ability to eat the same meals for many more days without getting tired. Beans are not the star. They are the foundation, the thing that stands behind and keeps the whole system from collapsing. And if you look a bit further, you will see this is not just about food. In areas dependent on supply chains, where everything must be transported by trucks, even a small disruption can change prices and access within just a few days. In that context, food independence is no longer a choice. It is a form of security. A shelf full of beans is not a sign of worry. It is a sign of someone who understands how the world works and prepares before it changes. In the end, beans are not something that excites you when you buy them. No one looks at a shelf of beans and thinks this is an ideal meal. But in a world where everything can change quickly, the simplest and least appealing things are often the ones that last the longest. When meat becomes expensive, when fresh vegetables are hard to access, when familiar options begin to disappear, beans will still be there. And when you are forced to choose between just eating whatever is available and having enough strength to keep going, you will understand why these cans of beans have never been insignificant. If beans are the foundation that keeps your body from collapsing, then next is something else. Something less common, not as cheap, but one that determines whether you can maintain mental clarity during long days. 3. Canned chicken. The protein stronghold and the critical weak point of the power grid, canned chicken gives you a source of high-quality protein without electricity, without refrigeration, and without complex preparation. Just open it and it is ready to use. It may sound like convenience, but in a prolonged power outage, it is no longer convenience. It is the difference between staying in control of your life or becoming completely dependent on the situation. Your body cannot maintain strength long-term on rice or beans alone. You need real protein to preserve muscle, sustain energy, and keep your nervous system functioning properly. On a normal day, you may not feel it clearly, but when you have to work more, sleep less, or live under prolonged stress, a lack of protein will not bring you down immediately, but it will weaken you day by day. And what is worth noting is that the entire fresh protein system you are used to is actually very fragile. Fresh meat depends on electricity. From farms, processing plants, cold storage, to transport trucks and supermarkets, everything requires continuous power to operate. Just one link fails, and the system starts to weaken. And when the power goes out, the time you have before food in your refrigerator becomes useless, is measured in hours and days, not weeks. You might think power outages are rare, but in reality, events like storms, floods, wildfires, or infrastructure failures are happening more often. And when they happen, they do not come with warning. During a flood in North Carolina, one man shared that on the first day without power, things were still under control. By the second day, he started to worry as the refrigerator could no longer stay cold. By the third day, all fresh food had to be thrown away, and what helped him keep enough strength to clean up, repair, and continue protecting his home was not what was in the refrigerator, but the canned chicken he had bought earlier. Not because it tasted good, but because it was still usable. And that is the point many people overlook. Our modern system is very convenient, but not durable. Canned chicken solves exactly that weakness. It does not depend on electricity. No refrigeration needed. No complex cooking required. You can use it immediately or combine it with things like beans or tomatoes to create a complete meal. It does not fully replace fresh food, but in a situation where fresh food is gone, it becomes the closest thing you can rely on. But if you only look at it from a backup perspective, you are still missing its full value. The livestock industry is currently under pressure from multiple sides. Feed costs are rising. Disease outbreaks force poultry culling. Transportation costs are climbing. All these factors do not cause prices to spike instantly, but to increase gradually over time. And like many other foods, canned products often have a delay, meaning there is a window where you can still buy at the old price before the market fully adjusts. If you understand this, you will see buying canned chicken differently. You are not just buying food, you are locking in part of your future cost before it becomes more expensive. However, there is a common mistake: buying it and placing it wherever there is empty space. Canned chicken can be stored for 2 to 5 years, but that does not mean you can leave it in hot environments or places with fluctuating temperatures. High heat does not spoil it immediately, but it reduces quality over time. And the dangerous part is you do not notice it until you use it. The principle is still simple. Keep it in a dry, cool, and stable place. Avoid hot garages, avoid direct sunlight, and always check the can before use. If there are signs of swelling, leakage, or unusual dents, do not use it. A good system is not about buying a large amount and leaving it there. You need rotation. Use older cans first, then replace them with new ones. That way, you not only maintain quality, but also become familiar with using it in daily meals. When something happens, you do not have to learn how to eat something new. You are already used to it. Canned chicken shows its value most clearly when it is part of a system. Combined with beans, you get sustained energy. Combined with tomatoes, you get flavor. Add seasoning, and you can create meals your whole family can still accept after many repeated days. It is not everything, but it is the center that connects everything together. And if you look at it more broadly, this is not just about food. A home is not just a place to live. It is what helps you sustain life when external systems no longer function normally. And in that context, a protein source that does not depend on electricity is no longer convenience. It is a real advantage. In the end, you may not choose canned chicken on a normal day. You may prefer fresh food, better tasting food. But in a world where everything can change quickly, the simplest, least dependent, and most reliable things are what keep you standing. When the power goes out, when the refrigerator becomes useless, when familiar options disappear, you will no longer care whether the food is appealing or not. You will care about one thing only: whether you still have enough strength to keep going. And in that moment, a small can of chicken may not bring comfort, but it will give you something far more important: the ability to continue. If chicken is what keeps your body going, the next is something else. It does not make you feel fuller. It does not make you stronger immediately, but it determines whether you can maintain mental clarity during long days. 2. Canned salmon. Insurance for your brain and the luxury balance of nutrition. Canned salmon is not a foundational food you need to store in large quantities like beans or rice, but it is a protective layer that, if missing, will cause your entire food system to start revealing its weaknesses. You can go without it for a short time, but over longer periods, you will begin to pay the price in ways you do not immediately notice. Its core role is not to make you feel full, but to keep your body from deteriorating internally. It provides nutrients your body cannot produce on its own, especially omega-3, which can be seen as fuel for the brain, cardiovascular system, and natural anti-inflammatory function. When you are living under prolonged stress, lack of sleep, lack of comfort, and constant pressure, the issue is no longer whether you have enough calories, but whether your body can maintain stability to keep going. You can survive on beans and chicken, but you will not maintain your best condition. And in a prolonged crisis, the difference between surviving and functioning well is what determines how far you can go. In terms of storage, canned salmon has a shelf life of 3 to 5 years, enough to get through multiple cycles of change without losing its value. But unlike beans or chicken, salmon contains a high amount of fat, and that makes it more sensitive to its environment. If you store it in high or fluctuating temperatures, you are not just reducing its shelf life, you are quietly destroying the nutritional value inside. The storage method is simple but critical. Keep it in a cool, dark, and stable place. Not to make it last longer, but to preserve what you actually need from it. But what makes salmon special is not only its nutrition, but its position within the entire food system. If beans are the foundation and chicken is the strength, then salmon is the balance point. When you only have basic foods, you can still maintain energy, but after some time, you will begin to feel a decline. Not hunger, but fatigue, reduced focus, and a kind of deficiency that is hard to describe. That is when you understand something. Survival is not about eating enough. It is about not letting your body become depleted. And this is something very few people realize when they look at the food market. Not everything disappears in the same way. Some foods vanish quickly, like fresh vegetables or perishable products. But others do not disappear. They simply become more expensive, less common, and eventually turn into something you no longer want to buy because the price goes beyond what feels reasonable. Salmon is one of the clearest examples of that trend. The supply of wild fish does not increase with demand. The cost of fishing, farming, and transportation keeps fluctuating. Environmental regulations are becoming stricter. All of these factors do not remove salmon from the shelves, but quietly push it from a normal food into a luxury choice. And when that happens, you still see it there, but you no longer buy it. A crisis does not always take products away. It takes away your ability to access them. In that context, owning a few cans of salmon is not overstocking. It is a way to preserve your ability to choose in the future. You do not need much, because this is not the foundation, but the protective layer. With just a small amount used in rotation, you can rebalance your entire nutrition system. And there is one factor many people overlook: psychology. When you have to repeat simple meals for many days, even weeks, monotony does not just affect taste. It directly affects your mental state. A meal with salmon added does not just provide nutrition. It creates enough variation for you to feel that things are still under control. Sometimes, a different meal does not make you fuller, but it helps you continue. Looking at it from a broader perspective, salmon is not something you buy for today. It is something you keep for day 10, day 20, when your body starts to get tired and your mind begins to slow down. If beans help you survive and chicken helps you maintain strength, then salmon helps you keep the clarity needed to make the right decisions. And in a crisis, that is what truly determines who can keep going further. One viewer said something simple but very accurate. Beans feed the body, but omega-3 feeds the brain. And when you look at how the market is operating, you will see that this is not only true biologically, but financially as well. The price of canned salmon has increased significantly in recent years, and that trend shows no sign of stopping. That turns the cans of salmon in your kitchen into more than just food. They become a small form of asset, a decision made early before it moves out of reach for most consumers. In the end, salmon is not something you need to survive tomorrow. But if you want to make sure you are still stable in the days after, you cannot ignore it. In a world where everything can change quickly, the value of food is not in how common or cheap it is, but in whether it can keep you clear-minded, balanced, and from breaking down when you need it most. 1. Canned fruit. The psychological lifeline and the final point of resilience. Canned fruit is often the most overlooked item in any food storage plan, and that is exactly the mistake that causes many systems to fail during prolonged situations. Most people think in very logical numbers: enough calories, enough protein, enough fat. But there is a truth you only realize when you actually go through a crisis. People do not give up because they run out of food first. They give up because they no longer want to eat. When every meal repeats day after day with beans, rice, and canned meat, your taste does not just get bored, it starts to shut down. Eating becomes an obligation instead of a need, and that is when your body begins to weaken in a very quiet way. You still have enough nutrition on paper, but you do not absorb enough because you no longer want to eat. This is the point most survival plans miss. You do not starve first. You stop eating first, and that is where canned fruit comes in, not as a side item, but as a psychological lifeline. It brings something the entire dry food system lacks: sweetness, freshness, and a sense of normalcy. A soft peach slice, a piece of sweet and sour pineapple, or even just the juice in the can is enough to wake your taste back up and bring you to a state where you can keep eating, keep maintaining energy, and keep enduring. In terms of storage, canned fruit has a shorter shelf life than beans or meat, usually ranging from 18 months to about 2 years. And because of that, it requires more attention in how you store it. Due to its higher sugar and natural acid content, the can is more sensitive to the environment, especially heat. If you store it in hot places or under direct sunlight, you not only reduce quality, but also break down the texture inside, making the fruit mushy, flavorless, and losing much of its nutritional value. The simplest and most effective way is to keep it in the coolest, most stable place possible, and always rotate it earlier than other types of food. One small but extremely important detail: prioritize canned fruit packed in natural juice instead of heavy syrup. Under normal conditions, this may not seem like a big difference, but in a situation where you rely on canned food for many consecutive days, high sugar levels can cause energy swings, affect dental health, and make your body tire faster. In contrast, natural juice not only helps balance blood sugar, but also provides additional liquid, something that becomes extremely valuable when clean water is no longer stable. And on days when your energy is nearly depleted, that liquid itself can be what helps you stay alert. But the greatest value of fruit is not in its nutrition, it is in its impact on your mental state. In a scenario of isolation or prolonged power loss, when everything around you becomes heavy and repetitive, a small change in your meals can create a significant psychological effect. Opening a can of fruit is not just about eating. It is a signal that everything has not completely collapsed. It brings a sense of familiarity, a moment where you and your family can sit together and feel that life is still under control. Sometimes, what keeps you going is not energy. It is the feeling of normalcy. And that is the difference between existing and living. When you look at the market, you will see that fresh fruit is becoming increasingly harder to access for many American families. Cold transport costs are rising. Labor shortages in farms and unstable weather are making supply inconsistent. This does not make fruit disappear completely, but it makes prices fluctuate and become unpredictable. In that context, having a stable supply of canned fruit is not just about storing nutrition. It is a way to preserve a part of your quality of life at the lowest possible cost. The usage strategy is just as important. Fruit is not something you use every day like a staple. It should be used intentionally, like a reward, a break in a series of stressful days. When morale drops, when the whole family starts getting tired of repetitive meals, that is when a can of fruit can create a bigger shift than anything else. And that shift helps you extend your endurance one more day, then another. One viewer shared something very simple but very real. During a week of eating canned food continuously, what made the kids in their home happy was not meat or beans, but a can of peaches opened on the 5th day. That sweetness was not just flavor, it was a moment of release, a sense of relief under pressure. And sometimes, those small moments are what keep an entire family from mental exhaustion. In the end, canned fruit is the clearest proof of something many people forget. Food does not just feed the body, it keeps you human. When the outside world becomes gray, harsh, and unpredictable, a bit of sweetness from a small can be what keeps you from breaking down. And in a truly complete preparation plan, you are not just preparing to survive. You are preparing to preserve your mindset, your optimism, and your will to keep going. So those are the 5 types of canned food I always keep at home. You have now seen them all. It sounds simple, but if you look closely, you will notice a common point. It is not about eating well. It is about peace of mind. Because when everything is normal, you may not think about it. But when something happens, prices rise, supply is disrupted, or simply days when you are not prepared, these are the things that keep you from being caught off guard. You do not have to do everything at once. Just start slowly, a little at a time. Preparation is not about overthinking the future. It is about worrying less when something actually happens. And if you want to go one step further, in the next video I will share 12 types of food that smart preppers are quietly storing before April 15th, and the real reason behind it. It is not random that they chose that timing, and when you understand why, you will see preparation in a completely different way.